Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Tom Ripley, and Tom is a veteran of the Army. Welcome, Tom.
Right. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, I should say. Nice to be here. Nice to meet up with Joe. Not seen him for a while.
Exactly. See, you're saying morning all days. They've got no time now about doing this, man.
No, some days I don't know if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, or whatever. I mean, it all just blends into one.
Last time I met you, I had hair and you didn't. Now you've got mental hair and I haven't got any.
Yeah. I've got hair all over and down here. It's growing out my ears and everywhere. Eyebrows.
And still tell it to you, mate. And still tell it to you. So, Tom, if we start off a little bit about your army career, starting off with sort of like where you grew up and where you decided you wanted to join the military.
Okay, so it's in a nutshell, I was born in St Andrews, Fife in Scotland. Both my parents were jock. When I was 5, we moved down to Halifax in West Yorkshire. That's when my dad's work took him. But I joined the 4th Royal Tank Regiment, which is Scotland's own Royal Tank Regiment. And the reason behind that was my grandfather fought in the First World War in the Heavy Machine Gun Corps, and then that transformed into the Royal Tank Corps. So that was my historic links. So I did several years with 4RTR, serving mostly in Germany, in Munster, tours of Northern Ireland back in the day in the 70s. I joined 1977. And then we got into the 80s, mass unemployment, kids were joining the army, didn't want to be soldiers, so I was a bit disillusioned. So I left, and I was out of the army for a year working on building sites, and couldn't stand civilians, didn't understand us, and the lad I worked on the building site with, he was ex-Royal Irish Rangers, Marty Campbell. So me and him used to go out drinking and getting into trouble. So one day he says, I'm going back into the regiment. I said, he said, do you want to come with us? I said, yeah, fuck it. So, sorry.
Sorry.
So I re-enlisted and I joined the Royal Irish Rangers as it was then. And that was 1988. So I'd been out a year and I went back in. So it didn't affect my service. My service carried on, and ended up finishing my time. I ended up doing 27 years.
So if we gone back to the jock regiment, how did that go down with you being English in a jock regiment?
Well, that was it. First day there, I got beaten up because of my English accent. Although I was born in Scotland, my parents were jock. But being brought up in West Yorkshire, I've got this Yorkshire accent. So yeah, it was a bit rough, and and I just got through it. I had to stand up for myself. There was a bit of bullying and all that, but he just fought back. Different kettle of fish when I joined the Royal Irish. I was accepted for who I was. I had no trouble through my whole career with the Royal Irish, although I've got no Irish links, although somebody said I've got some distant connections to somebody in the Skilling, but I need to do this ancestry search to do that. So yeah, that's that. So not a problem at all with the Royal Irish, but with the jocks, that was a bit different, and it was different times as well. Early, mid-70s, it was a different time.
So did you obviously enjoy the Irish better, the Irish regiment better?
They were both good, the Irish, because it was a longer career with them. It was different. So yeah, when England when Scotland and Ireland play football, I'm cheering for both sides.
Well, they're never going to be in a World Cup, so you didn't have to worry there, man.
No. But yeah, initially with 4 RTO with the jocks, that gave me a good military grounding. And that was my first taste of military life. So, and it was good. It was a good life. And then I just went on from that.
What was your standout moment in the jock regiment then? Either posting or on the piss or anything?
I think there was one was doing public duties at Edinburgh Castle. So that was a real highlight of that part of my career. And my first United Nations tour was with the jocks in Cyprus. So yeah, but I think doing public duties that was a good one. Yeah.
Why is that? Because I had all the women around you.
Aye.
That's always a plus.
Then on your days off, you went up and down Rose Street and see how you could get, how far you could get before you were too drunk or got arrested.
Which you probably both know on you, mate.
Well, yeah, a bit of both.
Well, what about your standout moment in the Irish then?
I think the operational tour in Kosovo in 1999, that was quite something, and that was more of a humanitarian role, not so much a fighting role, and that opened my eyes a lot, and I've seen quite a bit of suffering and discomfort, and that had a great effect on me once we were going through the country, and especially when we got to day 3 of the invasion. We got to Pristina, and we got to the old Russian-style hospital, and in the maternity unit there, where we found all these babies that had been murdered, but they weren't just murdered; they were mutilated, and we found hiding in the cellar of the hospital a young Kosovo Albanian girl who was training to be a midwife. She spoke very good English, and she told me it was her countrymen. It was doctors and nurses of Serbian descent that murdered these babies because they were Albanian babies. So ethnic cleansing. That was horrific. That greatly affected me. We employed the girl as our interpreter, and long story short, we brought her back to UK with us, and she's living in Bournemouth somewhere. She completed her midwifery training, and I believe she's married with children of her own now. But that period of time, although it was quite devastating to my mental well-being, it was one of the times I thought I was making a difference and helping the people we found there. Yeah. So
that story you've just told there, obviously people won't know this, but me and you did some kind of teaching at Northumbria University about veterans well-being, and you told that story, and now that story, just you telling it, has stuck with me since that day. You know, because obviously it was in more in depth what you told, sort of in the teaching, and I think about that all the time. So I can't imagine what it would be like to actually have seen that firsthand.
Yeah, it was horrific, and it's one of those things you can't not see, you know. And it wasn't just that. When we first got into the country, we found bodies that were down manholes, bodies in fields and in rivers, and we had to retrieve all these people. And one of the places we billeted at. We put up canvas and camped at a place called Lipyan, and there was a paper factory there, and they would recycle paper, and the railway line came in to the rear of the factory, and there was a big emulsion machine, a big conveyor belt, so all the paper would be offloaded and cardboard offloaded onto this conveyor belt, goes up into the emulsion machine, mulched down to be recycled into new paper or cardboard. But in that machine, we found bodies of Albanians that had been raped and murdered by the Serb army. And we know that for fact because we found people's ID cards and passports all over the floor. We found syringes of penicillin, Russian-made syringes, Russian writing on them. And the idea was the Serb soldiers would inject himself with the penicillin, then rape people with the views to they wouldn't be able to get infected by HIV, AIDS, or any other STD. But this huge vat mulching machine was full of bodies. And we reported this to the war crimes people, and they came and took all the passports and belongings we could find, handbags, shoes, wallets, people's spectacles, children's toys. So that really affected me. There's no books written about this. There's only the people that were there, like myself, that knew this is what happened, and obviously the War Crimes Commission. So that affected me, but it still didn't detract away from the fact that I thought I was doing some good. I was helping. So,
have you never thought about writing a book?
Funny you should say that. A few people have said that to me, and one of my cousins, she's a journalist in London, and she asked me a while ago if I would consider it, and yeah, I would, but just not at this time. So, but I'd like to write a book about the daft and funny events that used to happen during your army days, the silly things that take place, and when you're on leave or when you're off duty, going out getting drunk. Some of the bars we used to go and visit, and some of the escapades we used to get up to, something with a bit of humour in it. I don't want it to be all dark and dismal,
Military people always remember the funny parts, don't they? Because you try to push the dark parts to the back of your mind. I think the crack with the lads and the scrapes you get into, that's the stuff that you try to remember, I think.
Exactly. And what I'm missing most is during this prohibition period that we're in is going to the working men's club. I'd go to on a Friday or a Saturday night, and because living in Catterick Garrison where I do is a massive ex-forces community here, and a lot of people I served with as well. So we'd meet there on a Saturday night, watch the show, have a few beers. Nobody ever talks about any particular time, but we all talk about funny stories that happened to us and places we served in, like Germany, like Northern Ireland, Cyprus, exercises in Canada and Kenya, and all the escapades everybody get up to. And from whatever regiment you were, pretty much we're all the same.
Well, that is right. Whatever regiment, I would even go as far as to say whatever service you are, you've got funny stories. I mean, obviously, funny stories from the RAF is with whatever the butler did.
Yeah. And being a member of the Royal British Legion here in Richmond, it's half and half RAF and half Army. So when we have the meetings, it's a good slagging match. And now I'm involved in helping run a couple of veterans breakfast clubs in Richmond and in Colburn. That's very much the same there. You go along to the breakfast club, you can either have a cup of tea or full English breakfast, or you can just sit and natter and think that's the main thing, getting some people out of the houses to associate with other like-minded people to help them with that mental well-being. During this time of pandemic, it's a bit hard, but we do a buddy call once a week. I'll contact people by email and text, and Peter, the other fella that runs the Breakfast Club, he'll phone the lads and lasses that don't have access to social media or don't know how to use it or don't want to use it. So he looks after the older and the bolder on landline phones, or he goes around the house and knock on the door. So yeah.
It's difficult. It is difficult for we can't get to see our clients either. You know, everything's done by phone or like Zoom or Skype, or we have like a virtual coffee morning. Where,
all right.
You know, I don't know if your clients might be too old to get their head around the technology, but they seem to enjoy it. I didn't get involved with it, like, 'cause I'm too busy, but they seem to enjoy doing it. I mean, you just miss human interaction, don't you? That's all.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, like this is good, seeing somebody face to face on here, but it's better when they're sat in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, especially the work I do now, and I don't have clients sat in front of me. It's very difficult to do. So,
do you want to move on to what work? So when you left the forces, how you went on after that?
Yeah, well, I did a few jobs from agency driving, and then fell into working in the prison service. A friend of mine left the army a couple of years before me, and he recommended it to me. He said, "Look, they're recruiting nationally, so here you go." So I phoned up, and I spent the next 16 years with them. The start, it was quite good, and being soldiers, were quite keen to achieve and get things done. So I'd won quite a lot of awards through my work I did. I worked in a juvenile estate, so working with the kids and you know, giving them that second chance, because they weren't all bad. They were bad lads, that's why they were in there, but you could see the good in some of them. And at first it was good, first 5 or 6 years, and then things changed. Government policy changed, and cuts to the service changed, and we were getting more and more kids in with huge mental health problems, which we weren't trained to cope with. And then sadly, there's a lot of kids in there now that are serious crimes. So with the government closing and selling off a lot of prison estates, our population grew. And from me, when I first started working in the juvenile estate, there was 12 juvenile estates across the country. It was reduced to 4. So we certainly had the worst of the worst. And these were paedophiles and murderers, rapists. So it was quite difficult, and the violence escalated. And I'd been assaulted several times, and 2 serious incidents where I suffered strokes. So I'd been trying for the past 6, 7 years to leave the job, and applied for hundreds of different positions, and I was very fortunate 2 years ago to secure myself on a course for the Ministry of Defence for an army welfare worker, which I succeeded in, and that was going back to college and a 4-month residential course down in Worthy Down, Winchester, and gaining a qualification as a degree in social welfare. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm an army welfare worker here in Catterick Garrison. So I'm doing the ideal job I've always wanted to do, which is help soldiers and veterans. It's walking distance really from the house, and 9 to 5, no evenings, no weekends, nobody trying to stab me, nobody trying to
yet.
Nobody trying nobody trying to throw a pot of piss over my head. So so that's where I am now.
Tom?
Seem to have frozen.
You're on again.
Back in the room.
Back in the room.
Back in the room. Yeah, I think we froze a bit. Oh, it's saying my internet connection is unstable. Bit like me, I think.
I was going to say that it's not the internet, mate. It's you. what I'd like to do, Tom, because obviously these are only quick ones, but we've spoken about this before. How about you coming up here when you've got a bit of time off?
Yeah.
We do a proper podcast when all this is finished. Then we're going for a few drinks, and then you just stop here.
Yeah.
So you don't have to drive back.
That sounds good. I mean, things are more stable for me now. Last year was busy doing my college work, doing me on-the-job training. So last year it just totally wrote off. So I have more time this year. Once this pandemic is all finished and we can get out and associate a bit better, that'd be ideal. Yeah, look forward to that.
Brilliant, mate. Yeah, well, I'll thank you for taking the time out, mate, of your busy schedule.
Right.
Stay in touch anyway. Obviously, not just for this, but stay in touch anyway. And thank you very much.
Okay, Jay. Nice speaking to you.
Look after yourself, Tom. Cheers, pal. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.